I goofed. I don't usually do that, but oh well. My fault. Yeah. So did she pull through okay? To pull through? You know this one? I got a nod from Gerard on this one. So give us a situation, please.
Well, we managed to pass a situation to overcome.
So in medical health related, it would be used how most likely?
The flu, for instance,
The flu. Ah, maybe. Most often, though, it's after a surgery, after a procedure is scheduled. Um, I've never heard it used. It could be if you're hospitalized for the flu or pneumonia, you could pull through. But most often, yeah, chemotherapy,
mm,
maybe. We don't usually use that for that situation, though. It's usually a one-time surgery, or so it's not a long-term multiple treatment situation generally. Most often after surgery or an emergency admission to the hospital. But also, as you said, in difficult situations. So it's not a just medical. You
mhm.
can pull through. Um, did she pull through okay?
An accident.
Um, hmm, maybe. Maybe. I'm trying to think after divorce or after a long exam week at university. Did you make it through okay? Did she pull through with a smile on her face? So it might be used then, but most often it's after surgery
Mhm.
or an emergency admission. Yeah. Take a cold shower. There's another one that was new to Vasanth. Do you know this one? Take a cold shower.
No.
So we used Vasanth came up with flames and fire, and this cold
Mm.
water, of course, puts out fire. But this is probably one you've read or heard. With all the movies you've watched, has to have been. You need to take a shower. Has to have been a line. Um, has to have been a line in something that you've watched. So it's very, very common. And when someone is usually it's with related to lust, and somebody's too sexually excited, you tell them to go take a cold shower to stop all that heat. But it's also used when someone's real angry. Um, ah, oh, literally. I suppose there are times when literally you must take a cold shower, um, run it under cold water, but it's a very, very common idiom. Hmm. So I'm guessing you're going to hear it,
Mm.
hear it used soon. Now that you've heard it here, I'm guessing that you'll pick up on it more often. um, yeah, probably the most common one talking about today. What about at a hospital and you hear somebody talk about a bundle of joy? No?
No, but I can think of something good when somebody gave birth to a
Yeah,
twin or
right.
something like
Exactly. A
okay.
baby. Yeah, bundle of joy is a baby.
Mm.
So I'm surprised that that's not in movies and sitcoms too.
No,
A
I
little
never heard
bundle
that.
of joy refers to a baby. Look at the face. Gerard may not agree that a little bundle of joy.
No, I'm telling that I never heard this expression, and I watch hours and hours of things.
Yeah, yeah. Huh. Okay. I thought most of these would be familiar. And most were not to Vasant either. I mean, it's curious to me. So, splitting headache, break out in a cold sweat. The first time you join an online class might be an example of breaking out in a cold sweat. Ooh, what am I doing? Going on webcam, talking in English. Bundle of nerves, is that one that you're familiar with? To be a bundle of nerves? No. I thought these would be you guys talking, not me. No. I'm a bundle of nerves because you guys don't know any of these idioms, and I feel sort of embarrassed or oops, like I made a mistake. So when you're nervous, you're a bundle of nerves when you're very nervous about something. And I'm a bundle of nerves all the time because I'm a nervous person. But
Okay,
for
then
many people, it's an
that
occasional.
the husband might be a bundle of nerves before the wife gave birth to the child.
Yes, definitely. And it is more often used before something that's hopefully going to have a positive result, like a job interview um, or a baby being born. Um, might get a raise, your annual review with your boss. It's usually used before a situation that will hopefully end up with good news. To be a bundle of nerves. So I used it negatively, and it can be, but it's most often a go-to expression for something hopefully having a positive outcome. Like, your daughter's going to the doctors for a pregnancy test, and you're hoping she's going to have good news, and you'll be a bundle of nerves. I'm waiting for that one. All right. So, bundle of joy, clean bill of health. Oh, here's another one we haven't talked about yet. To get a dose of your own medicine. So we hit one that he knows. So, can you think of when you've heard this or when it might apply? How it might apply?
Yeah, I think that's universal, this idiom. When
So you have
someone
something
does something bad to the others and then this thing is done to him.
Yep. Yeah, the same thing happens, right? Yeah. So
that's karma.
what goes around comes around. That's another similar expression. What goes around comes around. Yes. Yeah. So my mom used this a lot with siblings, with brothers and sisters constantly tormenting each other. And we'd go crying to mom and we'd get the good for you. You got a dose of your own medicine, right? You deserved it. You got what you deserved. And collocation, to draw blood. Is this something familiar? So if you have blood drawn, if you get blood taken, you draw, the nurse draws blood, you have blood drawn. And this is also used if you are injured, if you fall down and scratch your arm, and oh, that drew blood. So sometimes this scratches nothing, and sometimes it's deeper. So if blood appears on an injury, the injury has drawn blood, the accident drew blood. But also used in the hospital, you have to wait to have your blood drawn. The nurse will be in soon to draw your blood. When you talk about this happening in your own language, is it a word similar to draw, to pull out, To take, how do you donate? Even if you're getting it for medical reason, you still use donate?
Donate, yes.
Really? So even if
Yeah.
it's for a lab test to see if you have a disease, they
Ah,
still call it donating?
Extract.
not at
I didn't hear that, Vasant.
no, not during tests. We would just say a blood test or something. Yeah, but only when you donate it, we say donate blood.
Huh, huh. Yeah, so we wouldn't use this in extraction. Okay, so you have a word similar to extraction that translates. Okay. Yeah, extract blood. That makes me think of vampires. Vampires extract your blood, but draw it out. Draw blood like you draw curtains open or closed. Same kind of, same verb. Um, okay, and to fall ill.
That's common.
That's a common one for you. So to become ill, to fall
The
ill.
same.
Okay. It's interesting, ones that do and ones that don't have a translation, a commonality. What else haven't we done? Oh, to be green around the gills. You look a little green around the gills there, Vasant. Not a compliment. Any guesses as to what the origin might be or what it might refer to?
Around the girls, I think something related to the fungus, the green fungus that appears in water.
In water, the algae in water. Gills
Yeah.
are in fish, and when you catch a fish or when it's unhappy, it breathes hard and you see all that light green. So I'll give you a hint. This expression to say that someone looks a little green around the gills is often heard after young people go out for a night of drinking and partying. The next morning, they're very hungover, and someone will tease them and say, "Oh, looking a little green around the gills there, bud." So ready to vomit. You look as though you're going to upchuck any minute. Your face is green. You look a little not so strong on the stomach. So this is the meaning that it's used, and that is a time you hear it often when you know someone's been out drinking and they're likely hungover, and the sight of food makes their face turn even grayer or greener. Um, and it's also used seriously if someone comes to work and they just look awful. You can tell that something is wrong and they are ill, and it might be a hangover or it might be something medically caused. But yeah, green around the gills. So breathing are your gills on a fish, and so if your face is green here and not looking too strong. Have one foot in the grave.
That's
I've
a
got
universal expression.
okay, and is it used in your country's usage? Is it used as a joke or is it used seriously when someone looks like they're dying?
Or when someone had a difficult situation like a stroke or a seizure, they say, I had one foot in the grave.
So past tense and they've recovered. So it's
Yeah.
often used by the person who was ill.
A
Yes,
colleague
that
of mine told me that recently. This summer, I had one foot in the grave.
okay.
I want to know the meaning of that phrase. Have one foot in the
Okay,
grave.
so it's not one that you're familiar with, translated? Okay. So, if you're in the grave, you're dead. So if you have one foot in the grave, you're half dead. So you're close to death, is the literal meaning for it. And so when someone's seriously ill, sometimes it is used seriously here, again, because so many people culturally are uncomfortable talking about health issues in any way. So whispering, it would not be a table conversation, it would be whispered. I think I'm worried that he's got one foot in the grave. I'm scared that he has one foot in the grave, is something you might hear, especially generation older than mine, say. My generation and younger, more likely to use it in a situation like Gerard said, where someone has recovered and the patient is talking about, whew, I thought I had one foot in the grave there for a while. It was pretty scary, and would be used that way more often. Yeah. Huh. I wonder how many other translations of that are commonly used. Let's see. I think that was the list I had.
Today, I have one interesting news.
Uh-huh.
Today, I joined Greenpeace.
You joined Greenpeace today?
Yeah.
And it's the first time you've joined them.
Yes, actually, I know them for a very long time.
Yeah,
At the
we've
beginning
talked
of
about
the 80s, when they fought against the people that throw nuclear waste to the sea. Do you remember those barrels
yes,
from
yeah,
boats?
yeah, yes, yeah.
And they put in the middle of the boats that hunted whales. How do you call those boats that hunt
Whaling boats.
whaling boats?
Very easy translation on that one. Yeah. Huh. European Greenpeace organizations, their protests are often much, um, sometimes I think gruesome, sometimes dramatic, radical, and more vandalizing. Sometimes they cause vandalism or cause more trouble than the more modest Greenpeace demonstrations in the US, from my awareness. I'm curious to learn from you more about what motivated you to join now.
They called me about. They told me I supported them on the internet about the Antarctic, protecting the Antarctic some months ago. One girl called me and talked about that, and I thought, okay, I'm going to join you. I thought about joining them before they asked me to join them. So I
Yeah,
have to pay a tax.
I'm actually surprised you haven't been a member, because you have mentioned them many times over the years. Is Greenpeace active in India? No.
I haven't heard of them.
So you don't know them. So Gerard, teach us. Tell us what Greenpeace is all about.
It's an organization of ecologists. Their main worry now is the global warming and anything related, but also about protecting animals, protecting the sea. Okay, they'll talk to me about the plastic problem we know about this topic, especially in the Pacific Ocean.
So many causes.
The ecological disasters.
I feel like Greenpeace here got a strong start after Rachel Carson's book came out in late 60s. But I don't know how long they've been. Do Do you know if they said anything to you? Do you remember anything about how long they've existed?
40 years, something like 40 years.
Yeah, so 60, so maybe even longer, 40 some years. That's when I remember starting to hear about them, when environmental concerns became strong. They are definitely international. I don't know what countries they aren't in at all. A story about them, they are one of the markers for many political parties here. If you have joined Greenpeace, a lot of people will disassociate. Disassociate. Will disassociate with you, split off and not be friendly with you, try not to get close to you because they're considered too radical and illegal often in the actions they take. Before the laws protecting what employers were allowed to ask or how you were allowed to be hired, not hired, or fired, Greenpeace was one thing that would not get you a job if you admitted to being a Greenpeace member. So people would not use their bumper stickers because they were afraid of what it might mean for them. Now you see a lot of them because it's much more, it's still radical, and there are people who still have nothing to do with them, but the environmental concerns are so much stronger now that it's no longer quite the negative it used to be. It just reminded me of another idiom because my brother and my mother would use this idiom when people talked Greenpeace. They would say, "Oh, I want to put a pillow over my head, a pillowcase over my head, and just hide and go away and ignore completely someone." So it often stirs up trouble just talking about Greenpeace here. I haven't followed them as closely. So the plastic in the ocean doesn't surprise me. There are so many concerns now from many countries with the oceans, and the plastic is just amazing.
And remember, they were deemed to be radicals, but at the beginning of the 80s was normal throwing those barrels with nuclear waste to the sea. Well, that was a normal thing, and nowadays wouldn't accept that. So they weren't so radical at this time.
Right, yeah.
Sometimes radical acts or deeds must be taken in order to do something.
Yes, yeah, and many people now wishing they had been more radical years ago. I think that this is where the expression to be a tree hugger came about, because many of the protests in the US were people physically hugging trees saying, "No, you can't cut this tree down. No, no, no. I love it." So I think that's where the tree hugger expression came from. I saw a nod from Vasant. So are there people in similar movements to this, environmentally conscious?
Yes, yes. Recently, we get to know about a lot of activists, especially the green movement, wherever the government imposes some expensive highway plans, and they cut down a lot of unnecessary forest areas just for the 100 feet wind road. So they have reduced the amount of deforestation, but they carelessly cut down so many trees just for the sake of the highway. Uh, and so many activists uh, gave awareness to the people. And I really appreciate that. Recently, people are getting awareness about the deforestation and the government's careless mistakes.
Yes, usually related to money, right? Cost saving, or who does the contract, and they get the contract by doing the easiest way out, and the heck with the environment. We'll worry about that after the next election.
But such activists are frequently uh, put behind bars. How to say
Oh,
that? Being put
oh,
behind.
wow. Yeah, yeah. So the penalty and consequences are stronger.
Yeah, yes, and I'm glad that the social network helped them to, because whenever the media cover the news, I mean covering means just hiding the news, but the social network really helped them, the mm, real people uh, pass
Fast,
the news. Yeah.
fascinating how that's working in different ways in different countries for different situations. Fascinating. Yeah. I, I don't know where this world is going, but it certainly is taking things in new directions, often with wonderful fast results, and often with more of these stories of people taking advantage. But I guess that's a reality of the type of nature
and
of
yeah,
behavior.
and the government has a policy that how much tree you cut down and the double amount of tree you have to the plant you have to uh,
So if you take out two, you have to plant four.
yes, yes. So and it is being implemented, but the problem is the follow-up is not being done uh,
They're
appropriately.
not verifying.
Yes, they are not verifying, and because when considering the past 1 decade of tree planting, uh, we could have had so much uh, densely forest in our state, but we haven't. So it means the follow-up matters. It doesn't matter how many plants you plant. The follow-up matters.
Yeah, this just reminds me, this just happened in Charlottesville recently, and we got so upset. So the contract just said they had to plant them, and they did, but they didn't plant them, didn't choose correct plants, didn't water them. And that's okay. They planted them. So that's your problem. We did what you said we had to. So now we're trying to write the policies to be a little more accountable. Yeah. Yes.
Yes,
Another
and 1 week ago in my village, the youngsters planned to plant trees by our own. So we collected some money from 10 to 20 youngsters, and we decided to plant a plant, and it is allocated to every person. So I wasn't. I have one plant, and I will have to take care
take
of it.
care of it.
Uh,
So you're
yes.
supposed to be responsible for your plant, for your tree.
Yeah, so I like this idea, and it will like raising a pet, raising a child. So
This is
you,
what they're trying in metropolitan areas with a lot of success, many places here. Yeah, but it shouldn't have to be. Yeah, it's like to me, it's like littering. If you have garbage on your front lawn, you pick it up. And why do people throw it there? Why don't you be accountable not to throw it there and to take care of your own place? Um, it shouldn't have to be something that has to be taught, but we do. We have to teach it again because it's a lost cause in so many areas now. It's like in the stores when I was a kid, and my mom would take something, or my brother would, and say, "I want this, mom, I want this." And she'd say, "No, we never just set it here. We always made sure it went back where it belonged on the shelf." But oh my gosh, I see so many moms just throwing it down wherever else they are in the store and not teaching responsibility. And even if it's meat or frozen or something, they put it with the bread, they just, oh, so many ways that as a culture we are not accountable as I feel we should be. But that's my point of view and not everyone's. That's someone else's job. We need to create jobs. So, oh gosh. Well, interesting hour. And I will have to start posting some of these idioms for review to get them more familiar. And I bet you will hear cold shower and bundle of joy soon. At least those. So thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye-bye. Just going to copy the chat before I close it.